What's up, everybody? We are
Hey.
live. It is Money Shots Monday. We have myself, the beautiful Kelly in Vegas, and special guest, Mr. Ben Mans. How are we going? How's everything going? You like that, Ben?
I did like that, Megan. Everything's good. Excited. I mean, it's Super Bowl week. What's not to love? Obviously, huge Barstool week out in Arizona. I'm flying out there Saturday. Excited for that. And yeah, just the weather. I mean, Megan, how about you and Kelly? Because we all live not in New York. Seeing the -6 degrees in New York and everybody bitching all weekend while it's just been beautiful and sunny down here. It's been
75 right now outside, so I can't complain too much. But I will say, if y'all are traveling to Arizona, it was a little chillier than I anticipated, especially in the mornings. Like at 2 a.m., it was warmer than it was at 10 a.m. It made no sense to me. But
Megan, it's as somebody who lived in the desert for the better part of their adult life, it's the same reason why they say it's a dry heat. Well, it's also a dry cold, which is really fucking cold.
Yeah,
it's cold. I was over for a wedding in November and I froze my ass off.
I packed a bunch of cute shorts and stuff. No. The best I got was a pair of jeans with the ass cut out, and that's all. That's about as much skin as I was able to show. Well, in Scottsdale, however, the waitresses had their asses out. So if you enjoy that, like I do, go to Scottsdale. All right, let's go ahead and get into today. Let's start with the NFL because, as Menzi said, this is the big week. He's flying out there for Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone got the tour of the New Amsterdam house that everyone's staying at. Nick Tirani over there fucking knocking the bagels out of Jeff Delo's hand made me cry laughing. So yeah, that was just fantastic. They got a pickleball court. They got one field goal. They got a miniature golf course. They got 4 chairs outside. I mean, literally anything you could ask for, they have. But what do you guys, Menzi, you haven't been here, so I don't know where you're leaning on this game. I know you have a huge Patrick Mahomes bias, and it's not just because you sound alike. But let's see where your heads are at on this game.
Well,
Mincy knows he sounds like him. Come on. Mincy leans into it.
First of all, Mincy's way raspier than Patrick. Patrick sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, I would say.
Mincy's like raspy because I'm raspy, so I understand the rasp.
I get it. But Mincy, do you eat your steak well done? You do not, right? And no ketchup on it.
I don't put ketchup anywhere. And I don't put ketchup anywhere near my steak.
There's some slight differences. And you don't have a brother that makes awful TikToks. Or maybe you do and we just don't know about him.
And he's got Patrick has a stronger right arm in the family, clearly.
Clearly. All right, so Mince, where are we at in this game? What are you looking at? I know you were talking about a prop. You have a Mincy tingle that is telling you a player is going to go off. Who might it be, and what side are you going to be on?
I mean, I know this is going to come as a big surprise with the Ole Miss thing, but I think A.J. Brown's been waiting his entire life on this game, and over 72.5 is not enough. KC has a bad pass defense. I think wasn't it like 30th or 31st, if I remember right. And I think the Eagles are going to really try to push the ball down the field, A.J. Brown, and he's going to get some deep shots. And I think he's going to have a big game. So 72.5 seems a little too low to me on him.
So obviously, you with your non-bias Ole Miss semi-take there, that looks like an Eagles game. But a total game, Mincy. If you could right now, before you fly out to Arizona, call your shot, what is the final score of the Super Bowl?
I'm going to go pretty high scoring, I think, actually. I'm going to go Kansas City 31-27.
I feel like I've seen that narrative on Twitter. Did y'all see that, like the script narrative where everyone already knows the score? I feel
boy, yes. There's like a meme floating around of like Kansas City is going to score 10 or Eagles are going to score 10 in the first quarter. Or there's like some weird
I
saw that.
I love it so much that Arian Foster and PFT did that because it has turned all of these people that literally are conspiracy theorists and like won't watch an entire thing like on their fucking
They're losing their minds.
They're losing their minds.
And so many people thought it was serious, but of course they did. And Jake Koopman has 0-0 on $100 square. I had that for the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, and I won 3 out of 4 squares. Great number, Jake. Good luck to you, except it's not going to happen with these two offenses.
Well, especially if Mincy just said that he thinks it's going to be a high-scoring game. Kelly, we talked last week. Are you still sitting in the same position where you don't really even know what you want to do yet. We're just kind of
It's not that I don't
hanging in
know what
there.
I want to do, Megan. There's just nothing definitively here, right? Like I made the Chiefs a 1-point dog, so 1.5 does not give me like some big urge to go out and bet the side. And as Mint said, I lead the under here mathematically. I did not make the game that high. I also am looking at it going, all right, am I going to just bet some prop bets as opposed to betting the under? Right? Because we know wonky things happen in the Super Bowl every single year, right? Remember those like 6 years in a row where a safety happened, or maybe it was like 4 out of the 6. But either way, Vegas took a bath and just plummeted the odds. So the two things that I have bet already at the Barstool Sportsbook, over 3.5 field goals plus 135. I do think that we are going to see some good defensive stops here. And then I like over 5.5 sacks. So I am going to bet both of those. Again, I do think some crazy things are going to happen.
It's 5.5.
5.5. Patrick's hurt. Jalen's hurt. We're going to see how much both of those guys are able to scramble. Yes, Jalen has a much better O-line than Patrick does. But I also think that Kansas City line on defense, as well as a couple of those guys like Frank Clark, being able to put pressure on Jalen, it's not something we've seen all year. And frankly, the Eagles, whether you want to argue or not about how the game played out versus the Giants, beating the Giants twice to get to the Super Bowl is not like some great moral victory. And that Giants defense, that defensive line has not been great. I'll be the first one. You just talked about that Kansas City pass rush. Absolutely exploitable. But they've got 3 weeks to prepare for the Eagles. I do think this is going to be a knockout, drag-out type game where Mincy thinks it's going to be, 31-27. I think it could be 21-17. But I am not betting the under.
Okay, just out of curiosity with the history with Sirianni and Andy Reid. There we go. My brain, a literal brain fart. What do you think that they're going in maybe going to overcoach a little bit because of that dynamic between the two of them? Or do you think Andy Reid, since he's been here before, this is, his third appearance in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. Like, do you think he's going in there just with like a more relaxed, like, I'll wear my Hawaiian shirt once I'm done. And like, once we got to get this one. I'm just curious because Kelly, you did send me that narrative earlier in the week, and I was like, I love a good narrative.
When you've been somewhere before, you're a lot more relaxed, right? Like when you've played in the Super Bowl and you coached in the Super Bowl, you're going to be a lot more chill.
I like both of these, by the way. Just
2-point conversion plus 4.
Eagles like to go for 2 a lot too. That's actually interesting. They go for 2 randomly at good bets. The Eagles one actually.
I mean, if you just want
to see why I get nervous about the total mints. Like the last time I bet the under in the Super Bowl was Broncos versus Seahawks, and right out of the gate goes flying over Peyton's head, safety, and I was like, "Fuck my life!" And I immediately just live bet it the rest of the game, and it went under. It did not go under. It went over, but barely. And that's where I get a little nervous here. Back to Megan's narrative. Yeah, I could see that where Andy Reid has that familiarity. He's been there before. He's older. Nick Sirianni's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. In terms of that perspective, Jalen Hurts has never been there before.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like the Eagles literally have I think that chip on their shoulder might be too much of a divot. You know what I'm saying? Like
it can be.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to be that girl, and because I would love to see the Eagles win a Super Bowl. You know how low I was on Jalen Hurts like the last 2 years we've done shows together. Obviously, he does have that dog in him. Obviously, like he's doing big things. So yeah, that would be great for the city of Philly. Not to mention I had to watch, poor Smitty and Kate all take losses during the World Series. That's neither here nor there.
That's not your problem, Megan.
I asked Smitty on Pick Central today. I was like, Smitty, when's the last time? What are the chances? The Eagles, and he's like, well, it's actually the Flyers, the Sixers inside of it, and we all lost. So I was like, oh, probably a bad question.
Ouchie.
What are the chances?
I like the KC's under. Only a 1.5, but you have.
This is not Stephen Che. We do not have a robot on, but we cannot understand.
It does sound like a robot. Mintz has got a robot.
Mincy, are you
some Wi-Fi issues?
You got some good Wi-Fi going?
It should be working.
Should be working.
Go
ahead and repeat what you were just saying. What you liked about Kansas City under what?
I like that they're an underdog in this game. I think that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they hadn't been an underdog in forever. In their last Super Bowl, they were a 2.5-point road favorite at Tampa and responded very poorly. But I kind of like the narrative that they're the underdog here. And Reid, I mean, obviously anybody wants to win the Super Bowl, but the Reed versus Philly thing is fascinating. And I just kind of think that the Chiefs are going to be able to, put a chip on their shoulder on the underdog thing a little bit.
That's interesting narrative as well. You're right, Mint. We saw from Kirby Smart's crew. They thought apparently they were underdogs all year long. I don't understand it. He's the greatest gaslighter in the history of history, but man, that's an interesting one because you're right. Kansas City's never a dog, like very rarely a dog. And I kind of thought that would entice a lot more money on them, and it's not. It looks like to me the whole world's betting the Eagles. Everybody I talk to likes the Eagles. I'd love to make a case for the Chiefs, but I still haven't gotten definitive answers of their wide receiver core. Obviously, everybody's going, but as far as practicing health-wise, how far along is Patrick in this high ankle sprain?
I mean, I don't, but my thing is too, they cut like three-time Pro Bowlers like last season and then still got to a Super Bowl. I feel like that's got to be something as far as coaching, as far as talent. Like I know Patrick Mahomes does big things, but he can't do that all by himself. But that's enough NFL talk right now. I said we move on. I know Mincy's been in the blender a ton. He was there, last night, or is that the night before now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I go, and Megan, you like it too, but what New Orleans has done with the atmosphere of these Pelicans games, I mean, it's like you
get rid of the king cake, baby, though. That thing is so fucking scary.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
All the rap and bounce music in there and just the energy is great. But I'll say this, as a sporting experience, the Lakers win Saturday. The win over the Lakers Saturday was the most fun NBA regular season game I've ever been to in my entire life. The Pelicans had lost 10 in a row. There's so much bad blood with the Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram trade. And you could just literally feel the energy going to the fourth. I mean, it felt like a playoff game. It was the most important game of the season. And it was just spectacular beating them. And then I went again last night, and they won by like 30.
Well, Mitch, I mean, you've been boots on the ground, on the wood, if you will. What's the play for the night? What are you playing tonight? What's the NBA play before I kick it up to Kelly? Because I know after she took one look at this card today for college basketball, I knew immediately she went right back to the NBA tab. So we'll go ahead and get to Mincy and then go right back to Kelly.
So I've kind of been doing something, Kelly. I've noticed in the college basketball, I think I'm using similar. You know way more than me. I'm definitely not saying that. But I've been using kind of similar analysis to picking games that you do. Whereas I went 15-5 betting college basketball.
You've been crushing.
I'm scorching. Awesome. And all I'm doing, and I'm not even going to act like I know all the personnel. That'd be a total lie. Oh. I'm fading the obvious sucker road favorites all over the place because none of these top teams are elite. Tennessee's like number 2. Did you see how they played last week?
The SEC is very fraudulent.
So I'm fading these high-ranked teams laying points on the road, and nobody's winning on the road in the sucker road favorite spots. And then I'm taking home teams, like when the unranked teams are favored over the ranked, or when the line looks like 2 or 3 points higher than it should be, I'm taking the favorites. That's literally all I'm doing, and it's just crushing. And I'm 15-5 in my last 20. Tonight, I picked both the big Monday games. I'm going Miami by 3 over Duke. Duke just beat Carolina. They have Virginia. I'm a big fan of Jim Larinaga, Miami's coach. Did awesome at George Mason, got him to the Final Four back in the day. Miami made a big run in the tournament, I believe it was last year. I think they've got a good home court. And then I'm taking Kansas. I know Kansas has lost a ton of games. I was on them against K-State last week. They're still a 4-point favorite, even coming off the loss to Iowa State. They've really been struggling on the road, to be honest. So Texas, I know you're probably a little salty about that one Saturday.
Nah, not at all. K-State just blew a second-half lead along with the the good old Air Force. I had like 3 games in a row, Mints, and I bet. Luckily, I didn't get involved in that K-State game. I did the Saturday Spaces, Mints, that you started with me during college basketball. Jeff Nadeau's on, Megan's on. We're having a great time, and we're kind of finding those diamonds in the rough, talking with one another, where it's just like you and I, where it's like, wait, that total does make a lot more sense. Let me look at that as well, in addition to what else I'm doing. I've done very similar to what Mincy's doing. I have a do not bet against list. There are certain teams I do not bet against at home, and certain teams I just do not bet on or against, period, because I have terrible reads on them. Old Miss being one of them.
You have so many fucking games to choose from that's a great way to go about it.
It helps you narrow down, Megan. If you don't, for me, so these are my updated records as of Friday. So that's my fault. I haven't updated them yet on my spreadsheet. The Mountain West, as of Friday, I lost to Air Force. I'm 8-2 against the spread in Mountain West. I'm crushing the Mountain West.
Force. Air Force is a great cover.
And you know what? I'm 14-9 in the Big 12. I'm 3-12 in the Big East, Megan. So guess what I said on Saturday? I don't care. I would have went 1-1 in the Big East, but it doesn't matter. I just like, you know what? We're not doing this. I am done with this conference. I am seeing the SEC fairly well, 12-9, the Pac-12 4-2. Like, figure out what you're doing really well and keep it going. Because I think the difference is with what Mintz is saying about don't overthink it. Find these spots situationally. And that's exactly what he did. And he is just riding it to all the way to the bank. I think it's a great idea.
Kelly, also to compliment you, one thing I'm doing, I was guilty of a little of the big cat syndrome during college football, just taking too many games. And I'm going your route. And like on Saturday, I've got 5 games. And on these other days, I'm taking 1 or 2 or 3. And that's helping a lot too, just being way, way more selective. And I know it's tough.
It's like, not tough. You just throw games out there and you have a good time, man. That's what Saturday basketball
I had 11 games on Saturday that made my long list. I only got to the window with, I think it was 6 of them. I'd have to double check.
That's a lot of games for you.
Yeah, but I left 3 losers off the board. That right there to me is a win. Well, right? Like, and if you
imagine me who puts out 12 games and I have 3 losers that I don't, and then didn't put out the other 4 that I like that were all winners. See, like that's why my brain goes that way.
I agree.
Here or there.
But if you're playing, here's a question from Frank. Kelly, do you get your value on games from the predictive value of KenPom? No, I do not. So actually, what I do in college basketball is significantly different than what I do in college football. In college football, I use a friend set of power rankings. Actually, I have 3 different guys from Wager Talk that share their power ratings with me, and I manipulate them throughout the year to myself because I don't have the time to put in the work to do my own. Yes, KenPom is a great tool. I love KenPom Plus and how it breaks things down. I bet everything the same unless I have somehow a best bet, and it's very difficult to quantify one game and why it's a best bet. It's got to match up math-wise. It's got to match up situationally-wise. And I've really got to have a feeling about this game, whether it's a look-ahead spot, whether it's a buy-low spot, whether it is a flat spot, where I can say, all right, this is also why I like this game significantly more than others. So everything I play is 2 units, college basketball, that's it. College football, you'll see 2, 3, 4, 5, because there are just better spots for me. They only play once a week. These kids are playing 2, sometimes 3 times a week. It's a much different game. It's a much different pace. And when some of these teams get hot and we see them rattle off 8, 9, 10 wins in a row, the last thing you want to do is step in front of some of these teams.
Right. Like, for example, like Texas probably stayed in Kansas. They played K-State. They had to play KU. I honestly would have loved to have bet Kansas this game because honestly, horns down. But I also just wasn't interested in that game. Kelly, did you end up playing any college basketball today?
So I have yet to get to the window on either of these, Megan. Listen, I spoke about this on Jeff Nadeau's show that I'm doing right after this one. If you guys hang out here on the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel. I wish I could
get on there sometimes, but literally have to go pick up my kids every time it starts. Like, it doesn't never fail.
It's tough. It's tough. And he always says, why doesn't Megan want to do my show? I'm like,
Jeff.
Megan has more important things.
Right now. I just have to go pick up my children.
So I get a lot of hate, right?
With all these broads, he's going to have to start picking up some kids too.
I get a lot of hate, right, from KU fans on Twitter. And sometimes I entice it, right? No problem. But I have said many times this year, Megan, that this is still KU's conference to lose. Baylor's coming up in the ranks, finally putting together some quality wins. Texas obviously was at rock bottom after firing Chris Beard, on that same trajectory themselves. Iowa State at home. And we're even seeing teams like Texas Tech, West Virginia really start to step up here in conference play.
The Big 12 is just monstrous.
John, I'd like to talk to you about it because I'd love to see what your power ratings look like. John says doesn't have time to do power ratings. I'm talking 60 plus hours a month, if not more, on power ratings. I have guys that have been doing this. Megan, I'm going to say this right now. I worked at another place. I can say it. I worked at CBS, right? Back, it was one of my very first jobs. Kenny White, my mentor at Don Best. Why on earth would I sit there and think that I am smarter than that man who has been doing this for 50 plus years? I'm not.
The most important thing you can do in entering this business is put yourself around smarter people.
Exactly. It is a lack of arrogance on my part, John, to know not only do I not have the time because of all the media commitments, it is also that this man is a wizard, literally. And so if I can use his, I can use Teddy's, I can use Ralph's, and I can say, okay, this is where these guys line up. And then I can manipulate it from myself, where maybe I update a power rank. I started power ranking K-State a lot higher earlier on than a lot of other people did because of what I was seeing, what I was hearing from the locker room. I started doing the same thing with other programs that you guys saw me bet throughout the course of the year. That's all it is. And that's my advice to everybody else. You can go buy a set of them for $500 and start from there. You can start making your own power ratings, but good luck, John. You should do a YouTube tutorial on how to start your own power ratings because it's going to take about 200 hours just to get it off the ground. That being said, I have not bet anything yet, Megan. Kansas is on my list. I do think that this KU team has really started to turn a corner since that Kentucky win, right? We know they dropped 3 straight since that K-State loss. They kind of got their swagger back, if you will. Yes, they just lost to Iowa State. But if you take that out of the equation, and the reason why I say this is because the Big 12 is so cannibalistic.
Yes.
And it's mainly on the road. Remember how Mincy said, stop buying these road teams? Well, that's how KU lost. They were road favorites in every single one of those loser spots. Stop betting these road favorites in conference in college basketball.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Look, I'm no saint, but the mistake I always made in college basketball when I was real young was you just all the suckers look at the rankings. You'll have so many games where the number 3 team is on the road against a bad team, and they're only laying like 4 or 5, and they're just baiting people. I feel like winning on the road in college basketball is even harder than football.
Well, segue to that, I have a winner that's going to go on the road tonight, and people might not think that I put my hours in, but I do.
I know you do.
Tarleton State money line tonight.
Wait, I have to read a tweet, Megan. Michael Mihalis. Actually, I saved this earlier. I'm glad you brought up Tarleton State because I cannot name a single player on Tarleton State because I don't care to follow that conference or that team.
Does Bill Krakenberger, a professional bettor, know anything? Any players of any team? Does he watch?
No, he doesn't give a shit at all. He doesn't care at all.
Yeah,
I know Crack really well. He openly says he doesn't watch the game.
Exactly. He doesn't know a single player.
Michael Mahala said, I'm sure you have top-notch info on Tarleton State. So, Megan, please tell me about whatever the hell their mascot is.
You know what I do know? This Tarleton State team at home, granted, already beat this UT Arlington team by 7, and it was without their leading scorer, Hicks. Guess who they get back tonight? Leading scorer, Hicks. This should be a fine game for Tarleton State. It's not an A plus B equals C type play, but it's not. But this is just one of those games. UT Arlington is just not that good of a squad. I'm sorry. Tarleton State, you look at the numbers, much better, especially when Hicks is in the lineup. And as I said, he'll be back tonight. And I scooped the money line because it was at -2, dropped to -1.5. I go, don't want to test any of these losers. I'll just go ahead, take the money line, pay a little extra juice, and go with that. I'm also tonight on Miami -3. Been hearing from a few people, Tarleton. I like that. Yeah, you should. I took Miami -3. I saw Duke at like 4 this morning. I go, kind of looks tasty. But then I went and looked. I go, this kind of looks like a sandwich spot for this Duke team. They just beat this big UNC, the blue blood rivalry. Then they have a look-ahead spot where they have Virginia when number 6, I believe, they play next. This Miami team is so hot at home. They were shooting like 48.9% at home. They're 5-0 in ACC play. I think this game's going to get dirty tonight, and I think it's going to benefit Miami. And I truly think that this game is going to be it's going to be better than the KU game. I'll throw it out there. It'll be better than KU Texas.
So, Megan, I slightly agree with you on Miami. I'm not going to get to the window with this team. I do feel like this Duke team, since obviously Coach K is not there, there's just kind of not that buzz around them anymore. There's not that automatic, like, everybody wants to watch. But they've been through kind of a rough stretch here, even though they've been winning. Wake Forest, top 25 team. North Carolina, top 50 team. Miami, top 50 team. Virginia, top 15 team. This 4 games is going to be tough for them. They got the first 2 at home. I think the next 2 look like L's just because, again, Duke doesn't win on the road. They've got 4 losses, all 4 of them on the road.
Shaky on the road.
No one does.
And Miami on a Monday, it might not be lit, but it actually could be really
Duke,
lit.
Megan, the fact that it's
there.
Duke will make it more lit.
Oh, yeah, I would
Duke,
agree
the
with
brand
that.
name thing makes that home court.
I also have one more play, and it's just not my favorite play of the day, but it's Weber State -1 at North Colorado. Speaking of other teams that can't win on the road, this one can, because North Colorado does not win against teams with winning records. They're just not good. So this is kind of my Weber State beats the teams they should beat, which probably was only about 6 teams. And North Colorado does not. So those are my 3 basketball plays for the day. College basketball again. I didn't want to take Kansas. I chickened out. I would be on Kansas -4, but I decided give me the U. I think I would rather watch this U game. I'm excited about Miami. There should be a ton of fucking offense in this game. There should be.
In theory.
In theory. So yeah, I like this one, and I told you I like Weber State. That's all I got. Mincy, Kelly, do y'all have any NBA for the night?
I'm going to take Stephen Shays over Drew Holiday assists.
Ooh.
I've always been a Drew Holiday fan since time in New Orleans, but I like the logic. He's playing Portland, who gives up a lot of assists, and I'm going to back. That's going to be the only NBA thing. I've been doing Pelicans props that I'm finally starting to win. I've won the last 2. I'm riding Trey Murphy until the wheels fall off. I think he's one of the purest shooters I've ever seen, and he's breaking out. But that's tomorrow night against Atlanta. He had 30 last night.
Megan, so what I like to do in the NBA is kind of bet the streaky teams, if you will, those streaky teams that are still under the radar. And Oklahoma City is one of those teams. They've covered 11 of their last 14. Golden State, just not a great team anymore, right?
Steph Curry out a couple weeks too.
Yep, that does not help things. 3.5. This one's come down from 4.5. That tells me that people are agreeing. All the tickets on Golden State, yet the line is dropping. It's called reverse line movement. I made this game 2.5, so getting 3.5 with OKC is going to be the one game that I get involved with tonight. Outside of that, there wasn't a lot to love. I was on Mince's Pals yesterday. That was nice. Buddy texted me and said, hey, take a look at New Orleans. So I was happy that Mincy was there cheering our bet home. I'm going to start really getting into NBA here over the next couple of weeks now that NFL is gone. We know that November NBA, December NBA, January, just leave me alone.
Hey, everyone come here for NBA because
Kelly, do you have a favorite NBA team at all?
No.
I'm going to recruit. I'm telling you, Megan, we're going to recruit you to be a Pelicans fan.
I'm not.
I have been to the Blender. I've been to like 3 NBA arenas, and I've been to the Blender.
I've been to the Blender. It's a great time. After I saw that John Morant article about him getting in the car after that Pacers game and red dot and some of the Pacers officials, I think I'm kind of in. I think that's pretty interesting. I like a little. See, that's why I don't bet the NBA though. The drama. I don't know who's fucking playing when they're deciding they're not going to play.
And that's my beef
too, Megan. I respect the fuck out of them.
Regular season NBA, right? And we can all blame Popovich for that one because they started resting people and it gets a little dicey. And you want to be ahead of the information. You also want to get the best of the numbers. So sometimes it's just best to stay away when guys are opting out and or are more hurt than their coaches alluded to, or vice versa. And then next thing you know, 5 minutes for the game, he's out there warming up and you're like, fuck me, right? So you do have to be really careful with that with the NBA and just keep an eye on. But I'm going to start having a couple of plays here, maybe 1 or 2 a week in the NBA, little nuggets that I can find, and then we'll hit the ground running for NBA finals come mid-April.
Well, that'll be great because we can, swap in Mincy and Che in here, get their NBA perspectives. I believe we'll have Rico on again.
Yeah, Rico's coming in on Thursday.
College basketball, get him away from his cooktop for a little while, making recipes.
I can't. I text him and I go, bro, what is this? Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making dinner, so I'm making a TikTok. I'm like, God bless.
Good for him. And it looked delicious. The crispy prosciutto.
Okay, beautiful. I can't. The way he was like chopping, I get it. It was like for a cinematic effect, but I was like,
I loved it.
I know you did, but it just hurt my soul. I'm like, can someone teach this man how to chop onions?
No, he just. All right, guys. That'll be it for tonight. We have Kelly and I will actually be back. We got to figure out Thursday because we have a meeting, so we're trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah, we do. We need to figure out time-wise. Mince, when are you going to Arizona?
Flies out Saturday, he said. Flies back
Yeah,
Monday.
I fly out Saturday. The only reason I'm going is because the halftime show stunt I pulled at LeBear's Lake Charles last year when I rapped California Love. And I have a plan for this halftime show. Look, I'm going to say it. I can't do Rihanna. It's just not in my wheelhouse. So I'm having to go a little bit of a different route. But I'm, I realize the only reason I'm going is this halftime thing. So I'm going to try to go all out. It's going to be, people are going to have thoughts, whether they're good or bad.
Whether they're good or bad thoughts. I love that for you, Mints.
Hey, Frank. Yes, we follow baseball. Kelly, not so much, but she will follow a pick or two if I get hot.
Yeah, but we're going to have Chris Castellani on with us.
That's what I was getting at.
I sent him speaking of handicapping and power ratings, I sent him my copy of Trading Bases. I've read a couple of times, and my brain still just had no desire to bet baseball. Mints, College World Base.
Oh, no, college. No, I'm going like strategy-wise with Barstool.
You ready for LSU to win it all, Mincy? Are you excited?
They're crazy. They're number one. But
you excited? You excited? I know you are.
but no, I'm going to be giving out college baseball picks every day, blogging it a lot. The season actually starts the weekend after the Super Bowl, so you're about to be seeing a ton of that content coming from me. I'm not like the biggest college hoops guy, so I'm going to go ahead and really get into college baseball early.
All right, grow the game,
Mincy.
All right, we love you guys. We'll be back maybe Thursday. We got to figure that out. If not, Kelly and I, and maybe Nate do, maybe not Nate. But we'll be
Saturday.
I know that I've been gone the last 2 Saturdays, unfortunately. Last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago was Arizona. Well, this last Saturday I had 2 kids homesick, and trust me, y'all didn't want to hear what was going on in this house. But I love y'all, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for joining us. I got to end the broadcast like I always forget to do.